Well, good morning, students. Let's see the information of the lecture first and then continue. We are studying moments, and the chapter we are studying, The Beggar, written by Anton Chekhov. And this is going to be lecture number 2. That means we have studied something in the lecture number 1. So let's have a little recap. There was a beggar who was just begging to the advocate by just making different excuses or providing some different statements, and he was caught red-handed by the advocate. Then he tried to persuade him that he doesn't have any sort of work, and then the advocate promised him to find work for him and offered him work to chop the woods. Then he was taken to advocate Sergei's home, where he was accompanied by the cook named Olga of Sergei to the shed where the wood was there. There he could chop the wood. Now let's see what happens. Sergei was just watching that complete scene of Olga and that beggar. They went into the shed and the shed was opened. This was the last we read, like Olga opened it very quickly and threw it all of a sudden that produced too much sound. Then next what happened? Next he saw the pseudo teacher seat himself on the log. Now what we need to understand students, that the pseudo teacher refers to like not genuine, that's false or like pretended, means the one who was just making sort of pretense like he was a teacher, though he was nothing. He was just making excuses, nothing else. Pseudo teacher seat himself, he was sitting all alone on a log. Log means like a thick piece of wood, a bit thick piece of wood. He sat himself there and became lost in thought. Means he started thinking something and he went into the world of thinking. That means he was just trying to, not even trying to pretend that he wants work, he wants to do the work so that he can earn his livelihood and can run his life properly. Though he was not even pretending. After just having thought of this, he was just lost in the thought with red cheeks resting on his fists. And he put his checks on the fists, basically. The woman flung down an axe at his feet, and the cook, Olga, flung down means threw axe at his feet, in the down of his feet, and spoke angrily and showed angerness, and judging from the expression of her lips, began to scold him. And when she judged the expression, she just showed this by this, like she's going to scold him, and she began to scold him. She started scolding him as he was so listless, so slouched. He was not active enough that he really wants to work. He didn't want to work, right? On the basis of his performance and the body language, Olga got the message that he's not going to chop the woods. The beggar irresolutely pulled a billet of wood. Irresolutely, yesterday also I told you, reluctantly, not willingly, took the wood. Billet of wood means a sort of piece of wood, to cut it towards him, set it up between his feet, and he tried just to set that wood in between his feet and taped it feebly, means he tried to cut it or chop it very weak, showing like he was very weak. Feebly means very weak, with the axe. He was having axe in his hand and he was just going like this, that he wasn't having any sort of power in him. The billet wavered and fell down. Billet means a sort of piece of wood that wavered and then it fell down. Means on the earth, on the soil. The beggar again pulled it to him. Next, again, beggar tried to pull it towards himself. He just tried so that he could chop it, blew on his freezing hands. The hands of the beggar were frozen. Very cold was there. It was snowfall and it was the winter season. And taped it with his axe cautiously. Cautiously means very carefully. He tried to tape the piece of wood with the axe very carefully, as if afraid of hitting his wishes. He was feeling a sort of afraidness that if he used a little more power, he would just lose, or the axe would hit his overshoes and this might cut him basically. There were two things, like students reluctantly means he was not willing to just take the work. Apart from this, he was not even showing that he really wants to work on this. So what does it show? The unwillingness of the beggar. The one was not ready to work, was not ready to even take any sort of responsibility. He just wanted to beg to get something, to have a drinking and enjoy. This was the time of him. So he did not chop even a single piece of wood. The stick of wood again fell to the ground, and again it happened. As he tried to chop it, as he tried to just cut it, again it happened like the wood again fell to the ground. Wasn't there anything like this, right? An hour later, no, sorry, Sergei's anger had vanished. Now, Sergei's anger had vanished, and he now began to feel a little sorry and ashamed of himself for having set a spoiled, drunken, perhaps sick man to work at menial labor in the cold. Menial labor means like not skilled, or we can say improved. Sergei's anger, like he was a little angry before, but now it's over. Had vanished means now the angry is over now, and now began to feel a little sorry. Sergei started feeling sorry about the beggar, and he felt ashamed also about himself for having set a spoiled, drunken, perhaps sick man to work. Like he thinks about the beggar who was spoiled, basically. He was finished because he used to drink a lot, and he was all over sick man. And now, because of Sergei, he has come back to work at menial labor in the cold. Like he's not even skilled about that work, though he's trying to work there. So Sergey was feeling a little happy about him, like if he does the work and he starts working, he would not have to beg, right? An hour later, Olga came in and announced that the wood had been chopped. It took around an hour. After an hour, Olga came and announced to the Sergey that the wood had all been chopped. Good, give him half a ruble, said Sergey. If he wants to, he can come back and cut wood on the first day of each month. We can always find work for him. Now what we get, good. Give him half a ruble. Half a ruble was given to him by Olga, which was said by Sergey. As Sergey said, if you want to work more, if he wants like the work, he can come back. Again, he can come back, cut wood on the first day of each month. This was the offer by the Sergey to the beggar, that if he ever wants to have a work from the very first day of the month, he can come here, can chop the woods, and can earn his livelihood. Good, give him half a ruble, and this half a ruble was just given to him. Now we can always find work for him. And if he ever comes in the first of the month, he would always have a work over here. Right? We are now on the first of the month. The waif made his appearance and again earned half a ruble. So what we get on the first of the month, as he was promised, he just came. The waif means a small thin person, usually like a child, because height was not so good and he was weak also. On the first of the month, the waif made his appearance and again earned half a ruble. He again earned half a ruble, right? Although he could barely stand on his legs. Although refers to like though he wasn't having that much of stamina that he could stand on his legs because he was gone so weak. From that day on, he often appeared in the yard, and every time work was found for him. Now, what is this? Though he wasn't able to stand on his foot, basically, from that day on, often appeared in the yard every time. Now you see time, every time work was found for him. Now, every month on the first day of the month, he used to come to Olga, means Sergei's house, and the work was always ready. Work was all ready for him to just prepare this, to just go ahead with this. Now put the wood shed in order. Now beat the dust out of rugs and mattresses. Every time he received from 20 to 40 kopecks, and once even a pair of old trousers were sent out to him. Now what we get here like whenever he came here, he was given sort of work there to do, right? Now he would shovel. Shovel means like students to lift and move like the ice of the snowfall or snow, we can say. Now put the wood shed in order, and he put all the wood in the shed in order. Now beat the dust out of rugs, and rugs you can see are used in houses basically, and the mattresses. He did these all sorts of work there. Every time he received from 20 to 40 copies. And he used to get 20 to 40 copies there. And once, even a pair of old trousers were sent out to him. Means old trousers were given to him as like he could save himself from the cold. He could save himself from the cold. When Sergei moved into another house, he hired him to help in the packing and hauling of the furniture. So now you see when Sergei just changed his house, he just was supposed to shift his all the items of the home to the another. So he just hired the beggar, the one, to just help him to shift the furniture, or hauling of the furniture means picking it out and take it to the another house. This time the wave was sober, gloomy, and silent. Sober, gloomy, and silent. This time what happened? The beggar, as of now, we will call him a beggar because he hasn't just shown or like present his name to the Sergei or to any one of us. We as of now we have read the text. So what happens basically? This time the waif was sober, gloomy, and silent. He was silent. He didn't speak a single word, nor yes, nor neither yes nor no, and he just hardly touched the furniture and walked behind the wagons. Wagons means sort of carts in which the furniture was kept to shift the another house. He did not even touch. We cannot even imagine like he just moved it. Then what we got there, that without working, like at that time when he was supposed to chop, the wood. He didn't do even that. Apart from this, he even didn't try that he would just help them to haul this furniture. He was just silent, hardly touched anything behind the wagons, hanging his head, and he kept his head down, not even making a pretense. Pretense means like to show like he the one is working or to show like the one is engaged or busy, but pretense of appearing busy was also not shown. He just kept his head down. He only shivered in the cold and became embarrassed. He was shivering in the cold, like there was a shivering because it was too much cold out there, and shivering was there, and he was just embarrassed, like what he was doing. He wasn't even working. When the carters jeered at him, jeered means to make fun, and carters means driver of four wheeler, four wheel. All right, you see now. So he was all embarrassed that he was not even touching anything, not doing anything. And the carters, like the people who were driving that, who were pulling that cart with the horse, by the horse basically, the jeered. Jeered means to make fun at him for his idleness, because that was not ready to even work, very idleness. His feebleness means the weakness, and his tattered. Tattered means like the clothes he was wearing, old, and torn means very oldie. These were torn also. Fancy overcoat after the movie was over, Sergei sent for him. After the movie, after the movie, when everything was moved to the new house, Sergei sent for him and Sergei was cold. Well, I'm happy. Well, I'm happy that my words have taken effect. He said, who said this? Sergei said this to the beggar, that my words are working with you on you. He said, handling him a ruble. A ruble was given to him, which is having much worth. As for your pains, the pains of shifting the furniture or the things of the house, he was paid 1 ruble there. I see you are sober and have no objection to work. He said this like Sergey said this, you don't have any sort of work to, any sort of objection to work. You're always ready to work. I love it. I like it. And he just handed him 1 ruble. I see you are sober and have no objection. What's your name? And Sergey asked him his name. He said, Lashkov. Well, Lashkov, I can now offer you some other cleaner employment. Can you write? And on this, Sergey asks him that if he can work, another work is ready for him if he can write. I can. And Sergey said, yes, I can write. Then take this letter to a friend of mine tomorrow, and you will be given some copy to do. Another work was given to the beggar, and he was given sort of a letter in which, he was supposed to hand over this to his friend, and there was a work to copy the things. See, students, Xerox machines were not there at that time. The copy work was to be done by just writing practically. People were hired to just copy any sort of page or any sort of book or like any sort of information. It's to be copied. People were hired to complete the copy work. Work hard, don't drink, and remember what I have said to you. Sergey said him like, you need not drink, don't drink. Remember the words I have said, means motivational words he said to him to work hard, not to waste time. Pleased at having put a man on the right path, Sergey tapped Lushkov kindly on the shoulder and gave him his hand at parting. While just departing, where they were parting from each other, he just shook hand also with him. Lashkov took the letter, and from that day forth came no more to the yard for more. And from that day onwards, Lashkov did not come to the yard to chop the woods, right? He did not come there. He was just all doing there. He was just having something different that was very different. So, see, students, for this, as of now, we'll just do this, and rest we'll do tomorrow. We need to see as much we can complete second last or third last para. So, what happened when he got the letter and went to Sergei's friend, as was told, he might have got the work or something good might have happened. Let's not just assume anything bad because we can assume both the things, but let's assume the positive one. So he must have got the good work. That's why he didn't come to the woodshed to chop the wood of the Sergei after that meeting with the Sergei. Right, everyone? So, see, students, that's enough for today's lecture. If any one of you wants to ask any question, you can raise your hand.